Welcome to teacher training. I'm Cynthia Abulafia, and I'll be leading the teacher training portions of anatomy, alignment, and subtle body.
And I'm Kendall Hastasana. I'm also a naturopathic doctor, and I will be leading anatomy, asana, and just overall fun. So welcome to the Yoga Suit Teacher Training.
The pose we are looking at right now is called Tadasana, sometimes referred to as Samastitihi, which means equal standing pose. Tadasana translates as mountain pose. Kendall is showing you the sideways mountain pose. Two critical instructions for this pose would be to correct the spine from the perspective of the pelvis. Because she is very swayed in her low back right now, the main two instructions that I would give her would be lengthen your tailbone down towards your heels as your upper thigh bones draw toward the back of your mat. Couple more cues that you could use in Tadasana classically include root down through the four corners of your feet as you lift up through the column of your spine to the top of your head. Notice that a lot of students, not only in standing postures, will thrust their front ribs forward in a posture. One of the main ways to correct this is through simply asking your student to soften their front-floating ribs downward while maintaining broadening across the shoulder heads. In order to find a little more strength in Tadasana, you can always ask your student to take a block between their inner thighs. And it's not a firm grip on the block, it's just a holding of the block in order to engage the inner thighs up toward the pelvic floor. Very important to remind students not to lock out their knees, especially when they have a block, because their legs are working a little bit harder. So with a soft bend in your knees, Kendall, root down through the four corners of your feet. Allow your upper thigh bones to draw slightly back and correct that by lengthening your tailbone towards your block. Soften your front floating ribs in and lift up through the top of your head. And turn your palms all the way out and feel a broadening across your chest. Allow your eyes to soften and your gaze to look straight forward at your horizon. One modification for this pose, I'm going to remove your block, will be to keep a softer bend in your knees, especially for people who tend to push their kneecaps back and hyperextend the backs of their knees, which Kendall can do pretty well, actually. In this chapter, we're going to be looking at the difference between Tadasana and Samastitihi, and we're also going to take the pose into Uttita Hastasana or Urdhva Hastasana, which just means reaching your arms overhead. So first, Kendall will bring her hands to her heart, which is Tadasana mountain pose. The elbows draw slightly out and down, shoulder heads are broad. She has a softness in her knees, and her tailbone is lengthening down toward the earth as the top of her head is reaching up to the sky. For Samastitihi, she'll release her hands down alongside her body, palms face forward. This might also be called anatomic neutral, but same or equal standing pose for Samastitihi. Allow your front floating ribs to soften down. Draw your tailbone toward the earth, reach up through the top of your head. Beautiful. From there, we'll work it into Uttita Hastasana. As you inhale, reach your arms out and all the way up. Allow your shoulder heads to soften toward the earth and turn your outer arms forward toward your midline. As you exhale, release your arms back alongside your body. We'll do that again. Turn your palms out. As you inhale, reach your arms out and all the way overhead. Notice that you can look up, and if that's too much on your neck, you can stay looking forward. You can also have your hands together if you have the mobility in your shoulders, but you can also bring your hands arm distance wide, shoulder distance wide. Take a breath in to lift, draw your tailbone into the earth, press through your feet, and as you exhale, return your arms down alongside your body.
What about my shoulders? Should they be coming up in this pose?
A lot of times when we reach our arms overhead, our shoulders will hike up toward our ears. One of the best ways to instruct a student not to do that, because it will cause tension in the neck and the upper traps, is to begin in Samasthiti or Tadasana. So you'll notice that if somebody's already a little shrugged up, you can instruct them to allow the shoulder blades in the back of their body to move down, to get wide across the front of the chest. Sometimes people say broaden across the collarbones or broaden across your shoulder heads. And when you bring your shoulder blades down your back, in order not to thrust your rib cage forward, remember to complement that instruction with soften your front floating ribs slightly in. From there, with the shoulder heads wide and soft, turn your palms to face out, and inhale, reach your arms out and overhead. Let your shoulder heads from here draw down away from your ears. Same instructions as before. Move the bottom tips of your shoulder blades down your back and soften your front floating ribs in. Do you see how that gives her neck a little more space? And if, despite her best efforts, her neck is still a little bit scrunched, it might just be a matter of releasing her hands away from each other and finding that shoulder width apart so that she can find those same actions we just mentioned. Drawing the shoulders away from the ears, bottom tips of the shoulder blades move down her back, and front floating ribs soften toward the back line of her body. Thanks, Kendall.
Even taking the arms wider here, I find, can help release the back and neck too.
Yes, you can go as wide as you want with your arms. Absolutely.
More thing.
Yes.
Sometimes when people are coming into this pose as well, I notice, and you can over-exaggerate the use of the strap, but if I'm bringing the arms up and my ribs come forward, it's really about that compensation piece that Cynthia was talking about. So if people are immediately taking their arms up and the ribs thrust forward, keep the knees slightly bent, root down to the feet, same principles as in Tadasana. And when you inhale, reach the arms up. Invite them to stop before they start doing this. Just bring their arms up, inhale. And then exhale. And over time, they can build that mobility back into a more neutral aspect of the front and the back of their body.
And what do we do if the class is pretty packed and you're mat to mat? There is an option when you reach your arms overhead, rather than taking your arms out to the side, you can bring your arms forward. So she'll find Samasthiti with her arms alongside her body. And as you inhale, you might say, if there's a body right next to you, consider bringing your arms forward and up overhead. There you go. And then find as much space through your arms as you need to. Hands can be together or wider than your shoulders so that your shoulder blades can move down your back and your front floating ribs can soften in towards your body.